Welcome back to a new one on this channel, and on this occasion is the TR Rec. Now, besides the live recording, we get this TR Rec, which is the good old classic step recording. So when we want to record a pattern, I'm going to be going to a pattern, I'm going to be doing rec, and I'm going to stand on the bank J, which is, for the first project, empty, and I'm going to be just tapping it, and we get the recording settings. And when you're on the screen, usually you get the real-time recording, but this is not what we want to do right here. By pressing the remain, it's going to change to TR Rec. And notice that the options right here at the top are just completely different. And on this one, you can change with the controller 1, you can still change the BPM, and you can change the length of your pattern. I'm gonna go to maybe 1 bar. Maybe you're going to put it on 110, something like that. I'm going to go to shuffle. You can still do shuffling if you want. I'm going to still use it to 0. And this is pretty similar to the other one. But on the other one, we get the quantization, not the shuffle. If you press and hold shift, you get the same thing that you get on the other one when you do shift, which is going to be the metronome volume and the time signature. Now, once you're ready with all your settings, the only thing that you need to do is just to go to shift. And I'm doing 1 bar in this case. This is going to be important in a minute. I'm going to press rec. And now this will just go like this, like a normal step sequencer. And the only thing you need to do is just to add these steps. Now the thing is that we need to select the samples that we want to use before. So if I'm holding the sub pad, notice that the colors change. If I go to the bank A, maybe because we have some sounds, I don't have any on the J. If I press and hold the sub pad, I need to select the sound I'm going to be adding to the sequence. So I'm going to be selecting the kick, right? So by holding the sub pad and selecting the different pads, you're going to be getting it, and I'm going to be going right here, and I'm just going to be adding those kicks right there. And that's how it works. If I wanted to select the snare, I'm going to be going to sub pad, I'm going to select the snare, and I'm going to be adding the snare. Now, if you want to silently select the sample, you can press the sub pad and the value at the same time, right? And I'm going to be going to the hats. Notice that it's not it's not playing back the sample, but I'm selecting it. So now if I just release and I add the steps, it's gonna do it. If you want to remove steps, the only thing that you need to do is just to go to the steps and just tap them again, and you're going to be able to remove them. If I go to the snare, I'm going to be removing the snare, and if I go to the kick is gone. I'm going to be adding the kicks again, and maybe the snare again, and I'm going to be doing it right here. So right here on the screen, of course, you get these options. We're going to talk about them in a minute, but you can go to record settings and you can change the BPM and you can change the shuffle. Also, if I get out of here, I'm going to be going to exit, and if I do shift, it's going to give us pretty much the same options, the BPM, the shuffle, and now we have an extra option, which is the start. This is an offset. We're going to talk about this in a minute. All right, so notice that right here you have the substeps and something that says pitch and then chromatic. Well, these are different modes. For example, if I go to remain and tap it, we have a different option. And it says right here at the bottom, it says trig. So you have the trigger mode, which is one of the modes. And if we tap it, you're going to be standing on the hold step. I'm going to show you how they work in a minute. But also on the pitch chromatic, you have something this is right here, the pitch speed. And notice that this changes a little bit when I tap it. And all of this has to do with the type of sample that you're working with. Now I'm going to be holding the sub pad. Of course, you don't see it, is off camera. And I'm going to be going to maybe the number 2 on the bank A, right? This is the sample, it's a long sample, melodic sample. And as soon as I select this one, and I'm going to stay right there, notice it says at the bottom sync is off. And it's because the pitch and the speed will control different settings. So this got to do, of course, with the pitch and the speed. So, okay, so let me just show you how this works. The number 2, the controller number 2, if I maybe go right here, and I'm going to be adding a sample on each of the steps, right, on each beat. Now, this one, of course, is going to change the pitch. But the thing is that if I tap it, it's going to say sync. Now, by default, the samples are going to be in sync if the BPM sync is on. And this is by nature, this pad, this sample, by nature is BPM synced. So you just cannot really change the pitch because you are in sync. You cannot change it. Now, if I go to pitch and the speed, and I change it now, it's going to disable the BPM sync, but now I can maybe add different steps and change the pitch. And I'm going to be deleting all of this, and I'm going to be doing something like this, so you can see it, that is triggering 4 times. But every time that I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna be offsetting by some amount, and we are using a chromatic scale, so it's gonna do something like that. It's gonna go 3 different pitches. Now you can do so. So the thing is that right now we are using chromatic, and I'm gonna remove all the steps. I'm gonna be going down to 0. So what you can do with the value when you push it is going to give you the scales. So now it's going to be a major C, then minor, and the scales that you get on this device, Dorian, and then Phrygian, and then back to chromatic. So what if I wanted to do a major or maybe minor, and I wanted to change the root? Right there it says it's a C. So when you push, you can just turn it, turn the value, and you're going to be able to change the root note. So if I do, a D, or maybe, D, I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to do so. I'm going to go here, and then here. And we get it. Cool. Now what happens if I press the pitch and speed, it's going to go back to sync. So now if I add them again, it's going to be the whatever pitch the sample has. Alright, so let me just remove this, and we need now to talk about the other thing, which is going to be the different types. We have the trigger, and you have the hold. Now the trigger, basically what it does when you add a step, is going to trigger that sample, and this is going to be the duration, which is going to be the length of each step. And I guess that makes sense. Now what you can do, and I'm going to be selecting maybe a different sound, maybe this one, it's going to be a little bit more obvious. You can add a step, and the whole length of the step is going to be that, that duration. But now I can maybe go right here and change it. I'm going to go all the way down. You can break it in 2 different triggers. So now if I add it, it's going to trigger it twice right here. And now then you have combinations. I can go up, and for example, we can do 3 triggers on the same step. So it's going to do it 3 times. And then when you move up from 3, you can have different combinations of the same 3 blocks, which is, a lot of different combinations. If I do something like that, you're going to see that this one sounds a little bit different. Now I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go up. I'm going to remove maybe this one. And as soon as you get to 4, of course, you're going to get 4 triggers on the same step. And then if you keep going up, you're going to have all the different combinations that you could get with 4 different blocks within the same step. And that's how it just works. All right, so I'm going to go all the way down, and I'm going to be removing the hats. Now I'm going to be selecting the number 2 of the bank A, which is, the sample that we used previously. And I'm going to be going now, I'm going to maybe stay on the trigger. Every time that we trigger that step, of course, it's going to play the sample, but the duration is going to be the duration of the step. We can, of course, do substeps, but the main point right here is that I want to use the other mode, which is going to be the hold. And the hold, pretty much what it means is that if you add it right here and it triggers the sample, it's going to keep playing until you trigger it again. And it doesn't care about the duration or anything else. It's just going to trigger, and the sample is going to play. If I trigger it right here, it will restart at this point, and so on and so on and so on. Right? I could do something like that. Yeah. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to be adding it on the number 1. So every time that we trigger that sample, it's going to just, play until it triggers again. But the hold step has different options. I'm going to be removing that. If I keep moving up, it's going to let you know how many steps do you want for the sample to last. If I say 4, it's going to last only 4 steps. And it's going to die right here. If I just remove it and go back again to 8, now it's going to be 8 steps. And I guess that at this point you get the idea of how this works. And you can go all the way up to 16 steps. So it's going to be the whole, the whole thing. All right. Now, another thing that you can do, I'm going to be selecting the hats. You can do velocity. you have the controller 3. That's going to be the control for the velocity. And every time that you add something, you're going to need to, of course, adjust the velocity. And I'm going to do it like that. Every time that it goes, it's going to go stronger and then just stronger. All right, so we have a couple more things. I'm going to go back to pattern select. I'm going to go to rec. I'm going to stand on the J, select the first one, and make sure that we are on TR rec. And I'm going to make it one single bar and then just start recording. So we already know about the pitch, the velocity, and everything else. But now what I want to do, I want to hold the shift. And this gives you an option that says start and then a percentage. So this is the offset. If I add step, I can offset it in some fashion. And the controller 3 is the one that is going to control this offset. So I can go all the way up to 100%, and I can go negatively at to minus 50%. And, let me just give you an example. If I'm going to be maybe going right now to 0%, so I'm going to be selecting maybe a kick, so we can, really hear where we are. And I'm going to be selecting now a snare. And I want the snare right here and right here, but now I'm going to be offsetting, and you are going to hear that it will sound a little bit off when I add it. Right? So that's what the offset does. It's going to offset it. So you can go all the way 100, all the way 99, and this is going to be really offsetted. Or you can go the other way. I'm going to go into negatives. Now, when you go into negatives and you add it right here, it's going to show up on the previous one. So still, it's playing it a little bit earlier. But when you remember, when you add it, it's going to add it on the previous step and not on the next one or on the same step. I'm going to go to 100 velocity, and I'm going to add the snare right here, and then, a snare right there. So what if, we have a different length? Now this pattern, it's just one bar. What if we have many bars? So I'm going to go outside. We already have this pattern. I'm going to go here, just exit, and I'm going to go to the pattern edit. We have nothing selected. I'm going to select my pattern, and then I'm going to go to menu, and then I'm going to select duplicate. And now it's going to be 2 bars. And you know what? I'm going to do it again. I'm going to make it 4 bars long. Now, if we go out and we do the same thing, I'm going to be recording, and I select the same pattern. Notice that you can change it to live recording, but I'm going to stay on the TR rec, and now the length, it says 4 different bars. We have 4 bars. I'm going to press rec, and now, of course, we have 4 bars. This is the first bar, the red one, and it's going to the other bars, but we don't see it, and it's because you just need to change it with the value knob. So if I go to the next one, the bar number 2, and it says right here 204, it's going to be purple. The next one is going to be red, and the next one is going to be purple. So it's going to show you purple and red whenever you change to, odd and even bars. And there you go. That's how you change, the different bars, different pages. All right, so there's a little bit more right here. I'm going to stay on the bar number 1 and of the 4 different bars. If you go to del to delete, you can delete a sample, or you can delete the whole damn thing, but it will only happen for the bar that you're just working with or where you're standing. For example, if I'm selecting the sub pad, I'm going to be going here. We have the kick and the snare right there. So I'm going to be selecting the kick, right? So the kick is just selected. I'm going to be doing del, hold it, and now the A and F is going to be one action, and the B and the G is going to be a different action. So they work as buttons now, not as banks. So by pressing the A and the F, what this will do, it will remove the steps, but it will only do it for the kick in this case, and for the bar number 1. When it goes to the number 2, we have it. We have the steps. So if you want to delete them, you're going to need to go again and just delete them. And same thing for the other one. You need to go to the 3, delete them, and then go to the 4 and just delete them again. Now, if I hold the delete, this one is going to be delete the sample that you have selected. The other one is going to be delete all the samples on the actual page. So I have only one, so I'm going to be going to the kick. I'm going to be adding a kick on the bank number 1, on the bar number 1, right? So I'm going to be going to delete, and I'm standing on the bar number 1. If I press this one, all the samples for the bar number 1 are gone, including the kick and the snare. Now, if I wanted to do the same thing on the bar number 2, well, it's the same thing. If you have many things going, pressing the B and the G will just delete it. And the same thing than before, we just need to toggle to go to different pages and delete them from there. So yeah, all right, so that's just an alternative to selecting the actual sample and just turning off and on. Okay, so I'm going to be going to pattern. I'm going to do rec. I'm inside pattern select, and I'm going to start a new trrec. Make sure that you are on trrec mode, and that's pretty much it. Maybe this is way too low. I'm going to go to 100s. And once you're done, you start recording. Now I'm going to do the same thing than before. I'm going to go to the A and just select the kick. And I'm going to add the kick. I'm going to go to a snare. I'm going to add the snare. I'm going to go to the hi-hats. I'm going to be adding some hi-hats. Pretty simple. Now what you can do, you can automate the controls that you have right here at the top. In the case of Substep, well, you can automate recorded motion and record the motion of moving this knob or moving the velocity. So for example, if I'm standing on the hat, what I want to record the motion of the velocity. I'm going to start low, and I'm going to be holding the roll. This is how you record the motion. I'm going to hold it, and it's now recording. And I'm going to just, change the velocity. Maybe it's just not too obvious. I'm going to stay right there. Notice that the velocity goes down, but as it moves up, I'm going to be going up. Maybe I'm going to be selecting this one, which is the snare, and still I'm going to select that one, and I'm going to modulate the pitch, and it's just, automating that control. Same thing with the substeps. I'm going to go there, I'm going to hold the roll, and I'm going to change the substeps as we go. It's going to sound a little bit funny, but that's what we want right here. Now, what if you want to go back, right? What if you want to disable whatever is that motion that you recorded right here? The only way to do it is to record it again with maybe normal settings. So if I'm standing on the kick, I'm going to be recording the hold, but I'm going to move this and hold it for the whole duration of the click of the pattern. And there's that now the kick goes to normal. If I go to the snare, I know that the snare is doing pitch, so I'm going to move this and wait until the whole thing is done. And now we have the same pitch for the snare. I'm going to go to the hats. I'm going to press the roll. I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to maybe do 110. And it's going to be the same for all. Alright, so that's TR recording. If you like this, please like and subscribe. And this channel is supported by viewers only. So if you want to buy me a coffee just to say thanks and help the channel keep going on, you can. So you have links at the description for PayPal, YouTube Thanks, and Patreon.